Welcome to the last episode of the season.
It's gone so quickly.
It really has. It's been a blast, folks, but there's still lots to come in this episode before we go.
There is indeed. Now, we test a lot of adventure bikes on our sister show, Adventure Bike TV, but this particular bike could not be ignored. If I was to tell you that there was a brand new adventure bike model coming to the market, you'd probably think of a manufacturer like BMW or KTM, Honda, Suzuki, Yamaha. But this particular manufacturer has never even made an adventure bike. In fact, they're well known for really only one type of motorcycle. The manufacturer is Harley Davidson and the bike is the Pan America. Now, before I even get out and ride this bike, I want to talk about the elephant in the room, the looks of the Pan America. It absolutely has divided opinion. So let me give you mine. When I look at it from the left side or the right side, ideally slightly further back, I quite like that. I think it looks different. I love the fact that Harley Davidson have got the engine absolutely on show, completely different to any other adventure bike. The problem is when you look at it from the front. It looks like a motorbike that's eaten a Kirby vacuum cleaner and swallowed it whole. It's not very attractive at all, I'm afraid. So let's dig a little more into the numbers on the Pan America. They make interesting reading when you're trying to get your head around where this bike fits in the market and of course who might buy it. The main trail riding specs and electronics all match up well to the GS1250 for example, including an industry first, adaptive ride height technology. A bit more on that later. Harley have built the Pan America and the special version from the ground up, starting with an all-new 1250 liquid-cooled V-twin engine, which sits proudly on display right at the heart of the bike. It puts out 150 horsepower and 94 foot-pounds of torque, putting itself right there in amongst the class-leading competition. And the weight is comparable too, at 258 kilos. And so is the tech. As you'd expect, you get rider modes, electronically adjustable front and rear suspension on the special version, cornering rider safety enhancement, and that adaptive ride height which lowers the bike when you come to a stop. It is an industry first and it's pretty nifty for the leg length challenged, and you can turn it off if you're not. I've taken the opportunity to come in from the pouring rain and try and dry out a little bit and to warm up and to give my next set of impressions on the Pan America. In some respects, things are starting to change. In one, it hasn't, and that's the seating position. I have a theory that somebody at Harley Davidson wants it to feel kind of old school like that, and it just doesn't work for me, and it started to really kind of irritate me when I'm riding on the tarmac. But in a few other aspects, it's really starting to become a grower. The looks are certainly starting to grow on me, as long as I'm only looking from the sides or the back, not so much from the front. And also riding off-road, so with lower tyre pressures, and it absolutely has transformed it, even with the road tyres, and the bike is starting to do everything that I ask of it. I'm not saying it's doing it brilliantly, but it is starting to do it. About that front view, the one I'm not too fond of. Apparently Harley's starting point was to make the best headlight for adventure riding in the dark and then build the bike around it. Well, that's their explanation for the unique front end looks. Despite the specs being right up there with its competitors and beyond, the screen is embarrassing. At full stretch, it feels like it's about to fall off in your hands. Lowered, it's not so bad, but it's still not great. The costs. Well, the special is 15.5 grand in black, 15750 in colour or 15950 in two-tone. The adaptive ride height is 600 quid extra, and you'd shell out another 400 quid for spoked wheels, so 17 grandish, which is pretty close for a similarly spec'd GS 1290 and a bit less than a V4 Multistrada. If you want to add accessories, Harley are happy to oblige, and there are some really well thought out extras. You get a choice of 3 luggage systems, hard metal, plastic or soft, and the hard ones are tested and certified, and also fully waterproof at 135 miles an hour apparently. We really wanted to test the Pan America off-road. So we asked Harley Davidson if that was okay, and they said, that's fine. We said, can we really give it a good test off the tarmac? And they said, absolutely. We said, could we hand it over to an ex-British enduro champion and let him rag it round off-road? And they went, absolutely. So that's why we're here at Sweetland. I really like the fact that Harley Davidson have produced this bike. With the Pan America and the live wire, they're really pushing the envelope, and that can only be good for the market. Now, I've spent a whole day with the bike, and apart from that little issue with the seating position, I have become rather fond of it. I'm not saying I've fallen in love with it, and I wouldn't have one in my garage, but I have become fond of it. It's got that certain indefinable bit of soul and a bit of character. Harley Davidson have made a great start with this bike. I can't wait to see where they go with it.
So what I got from that was that you actually love the bike, but also hate it.
Yes, a nice balanced review, I thought.
I know what you mean. So, before the end of the series, I wanted to get my hands dirty. So I asked producer Tom if he'd let me do my very own bike build. When I first joined the team, one of the first discussions that I had with Tom was about how much I wanted to do my very own bike build. I absolutely love going to the garage and having a tinker about with the bike, but to be fair, I don't get a lot of time to do it anymore. So, Tom has oddly suggested that we do it on the show, so I'm actually going to get paid for it as well. He has gone and found this little beauty, the BMW K100 LT. So here are all the parts that we ordered, and to be honest, there isn't that great a deal because actually when you strip everything off that bike, it's a pretty good looking naked bike to start anyway, so we really haven't bought that much. But what we do have is new exhaust and pipes, new headlights. We've got some gauges, some air filters. We also have a new rear light. And this is a lunchbox, and I'll explain what that does a bit later, but it's a really cool piece of kit. We also have this gorgeous new seat and these handlebars, which now we're here looking at it, not really sure they're going to fit, but we'll give it a go. So the parts that we got for the bike are actually all just bolt-on jobs. There's not a lot of extra customization or welding that has to be done. And we got them from a place called Café Racer Web Shop, which I want to say is based in Holland. It's definitely somewhere in Europe, and just be aware of when you're buying from such places at the moment. It did get stuck in customs. It was there for 3 weeks and we had additional charges, but it was still, even with all that, it was still a lot cheaper than anywhere that we could find in the UK. So the next thing to do is to strip this off, and that's the really boring part. So here's a montage. I'm not gonna lie, this has been slightly more labour intensive than I thought it would have been, purely because it's the ABS version and I didn't realise. So there's been many wires to clip and to get out to remove that. That just basically means by the end of the day, the brakes won't be working. I don't have the parts because I didn't know it was the ABS version. So by today, it'll look pretty. I'll have something done to it, but yeah, I'll get those parts in and get those brakes done at a later date. And then you'll see me riding it at an event near you, I am sure. So one thing I haven't done before is take off handlebars, believe it or not. Oh my God, what an absolute faff. And I know what you're probably all seeing now. I know what I did. I got really overexcited and I went for the grips there first and I took them off. And obviously now I'm attempting to get the actual grips off and the bars off, you know, with these still on. So yeah, possibly should have done it step 1, step 2, step 3 instead of 3, 2, 1, but you know, such is life, really. So here we have our stripped bike, and oh my God, what an absolute ball ache it has been. It was seriously much harder than I anticipated stripping down this bike. It's so much come off it. There was so much on it, and it just looks really, really tiny now. This tiny little frame. Actually, if you come over here, just have a quick look of what indeed we did take off. Excuse the mess, by the way. You've got the dashboard, you've got the seats, you've got the lights, electronics, the rear end, the fairing. All of this just came off one bike, and as you can see, yeah, that was a lot of work going into stripping that. Just look how much smaller this bike is. I've taken off the ABS cylinders, they have gone. The tank is off, that's over there ready to be wrapped. But the thing that caused the biggest problem was this. It's just not coming off at all. It's all corroded underneath, and it's really frustrating because we had the new part ready over there. So I'm gonna have to try and wrap it on, so that's gonna be fun. But the first thing I wanna get done now is the electrics. It's already knocking on a bit late in the day. I'm already really tired, so I wanna concentrate on that, get that done first. Usually, wiring on a bike like this can be a little bit of a nightmare, but we have got a cool bit of kit called a lunchbox, which can help solve all that. Basically, all you do is take your main wiring cluster and just attach it like so. And then you can get all your other parts, for example, like your speedo and the ends just then go in the corresponding holes, and it makes the job a heck of a lot easier. So before I can actually get on with the wiring, I'm going to have to put the components in place. And for example, for the headlight, we've got this little bracket which just attaches onto here, and then the light fixes on like so. Right, I'm not going to tighten this fully because I will need to adjust the headlight a bit later. So let this be a lesson to you all. I promise I didn't do this on purpose, but I'm going to have to take the headlight back off now because trapped behind it are all the wires to go back onto the handlebars. So just make sure before you start anything that everything is out and ready to go. One thing I wasn't expected to be doing was sawing, especially exhaust pipes. These were just supposed to bolt on, but they are in fact a tiny bit long. Would have been better if I'd had an angle grinder, but not one here, so back to sawing it is.
Kristy,
Yeah.
what are you doing? What's you doing?
Well, I'm trying to sort the exhaust. I'm just lining them up here now. I've had to cut them down because I'm trying to fit them, all four of them, into this part, which is going to shoot underneath here and out the other side. But looking at it, it looks like the centre stand's going to have to come off to do that, and I really can't be bothered to do that. So yeah, yet another problem for me to think and sort out. I gotta be honest, this isn't going as well as I thought it would. The bike it's a different variant of bike than I thought it would be. It's a different model, so that means all the parts that I ordered are, most of them are incorrect. Things like the air filter, and it's actually really frustrating because it's not the fact that it's hard work and work that can't be done. It's just because certain parts are incorrect for the model that we have. It's just work that cannot be done, and I really wanted to demonstrate what we could achieve within a day of doing work like this, but all these different problems that have cropped up have just created massive time lags for us, and it's getting late in the night, and I'm just really disappointed actually. I wanted to show you guys what a bike could look like within a day, and I just really don't think I'm gonna achieve what I set out to do. So yeah. So ideally we would want to paint this tank, but the purpose of today's build is to try and get things done in a quickest time as possible. So bearing that in mind, we're gonna just wrap it. So I've got a selection of colours. We're gonna put the carbon wrap in the centre, I think, and then matte black on either sides, and then I'm going to do a really cool thin red line just to match the already lines here going down the tank. Red and black matches the show's colours, and then maybe in time we'll get it painted, but I think it'll look pretty trick. So it's gone midnight, and I'm just not going to pretend anymore that I could have done much more to this bike than I did in the allocated time. Well, as you can see, I'm quite proud of what I've managed to do. I've achieved quite a bit, and it's looking okay. But to be honest, it just took way too long to strip down. When you get a bike like this as a project, obviously you get the bike first and then you get all the parts. For us today on this project, everything just turned up on the same day. So that's where a lot of the problems materialised. So yeah, but you know, let's check out what I have managed to do in a day. So new headlights, ignition, the key is on, speedo's on, handlebars, as you can see, nothing is back on there because unfortunately it's 0.5 mil too big. So that's something that we'll take a look at another time. The wrap on the tank, I think, well, I love it. I think it looks trick. Okay, the execution of it isn't quite what it should be, but yeah, it's Motorbike TV colours, so you know, keeps Tom happy. Obviously the seat, probably the star of the show. Absolutely gorgeous. What a winner that is. Just remember what it looked like, and we've stripped it back, you know, and the style, the cafe racer style that we've got it now, it just goes to show what you can do. There are, oh yeah, the exhaust as well, before I forget. Lovely exhaust, looks cool as. We've obviously brought it round this side. You know, there are parts that aren't finished. What's not on here? The ABS obviously isn't back on, so there's no brakes. Battery's dead, need to get a new one. So, you know, we're not going to be riding this bike today or anytime soon. But luckily, Tom is going to take over and have this as a proper restoration project. And I'm sure that he'll be putting that on the YouTube channel. So come back to us, you know, I'll say a couple of weeks. You'll hate me for that, but come back to us and see what it looks like soon.
Now it's time for a little break, and believe it or not, some actual advice about buying bikes.
Do your own research first, folks.
Yeah, to be fair, I really wouldn't trust us three.
So it's advice about buying bikes that no one else would listen to.
This is the thing that we did on the electric road trip, and we just got absolutely bladdered.
I don't remember that.
We were all talking earlier about giving you all some sound consumer advice around best-in-class type bikes. But as there is so much to talk about, we're just going to do a quick roundup. Now, as always, these are just our opinions, which you might or might not agree with, but that's all part of the fun of choosing favourites. So let's get on with it.
Okay, first, let's start with some track day toys. Of course, if we say Kawasaki, you'll probably think straight away of the Ninja H2, the 197 bhp supercharged 998cc beast. But if we were going to pick one from Kawasaki, it would be the new 2021 Ninja ZX-10RR, a race version of the ZX-10R, but only 500 are being made, so get hold of one as quick as you can. But in our opinion, you can't beat the Honda Fireblade. With the all-new version, the SP version, this bike has turned from a great all-rounder to a track beast. Having said all that, the BMW S1000RR is still the top bike for track day fun, and that is the one I'd have.
Now to my happy place, adventure bikes. There are so many great adventure bikes at the moment, but the bike you should choose will depend on the kind of riding you do, your off-road to on-road ratio, if you will. If you're riding big tarmac miles, then the BMW R1250 GS is pretty much unbeatable. If you want to do loads of off-road, then I'd go for the KTM 890. If you're looking for more of a 50-50 bike, things become a bit more tricky because both the BMW and the KTM also fit in this category. But for me, it's the Triumph Tiger 900 Rally Pro, as it does both exceptionally well. And we can't forget the smaller engined and fun to ride Royal Enfield Himalayan, which is a great bike as long as you're happy with a bit less power. The thing is, having said all that, my personal favourite is the 2021 KTM 1290 Adventure R. Why? Because it just makes me smile the most.
And if you're more of a tourer and you want to take on miles of road, then to be honest, we would again recommend the BMW R1250 GS. It's such a great bike to do huge mileage on. However, it will probably not be surprising to hear that for touring, we like the Honda Goldwing. The new style of Goldwing is incredible and we love it. If you are looking at the sports touring side, then without doubt it has to be the BMW S1000 XR, but the old shape. The new shape, oh, not so much. Street bikes or roadsters are a difficult one, as there are so many bikes that qualify, but we will basically be classing them as naked road bikes. This depends massively on personal opinion, but for us it is hard. At the top end there are so many. The three that stand out for us are the Ducati Street Fighter V4S, the KTM 1290 Super Duke R, and the Triumph Speed Triple 1200 RS. All excellent bikes and amazing to ride. And if you want a slightly less intense ride, then you probably might want to go for the Yamaha MT-07 or my favourite, the Triumph Trident.
Now, let's have a look at the hugely popular world of modern classics, and to be honest, Triumph kind of have this in the bag. There are of course loads of smaller manufacturers like CCM who make some great bikes, and Royal Enfield are also great. Ducati, well, they have their Scrambler, and BMW also has the stunning R9T. But Triumph has the 1200 Scrambler, and for us it's the best in terms of performance, looks and build quality. Now, what about cruisers? Of course, Harley Davidson comes to mind first, and, well, yeah, there's no denying it, buy a Harley. Other manufacturers do some great cruisers, and maybe even better cruisers, but they're not a Harley, and that's what you want in a cruiser. The Harley Davidson is the original, it created the whole cruiser scene, and anything else is just not the same.
So, we move on to scooters. Yeah, no, we know nothing about scooters, so moving on. At the moment, if you are 19 or older, you can get an A2 bike after getting your CBT, theory test, and 2-part practical test. In my day, it was just a single test, so how things change. Anyway, here you can pick a range of bikes. The BMW G310 GS is a great little adventure bike, and the R version is a great road bike. Ducati does the great looking Scrambler 62. Our choice would be the KTM 390 Duke. It's a great bike with a nice smooth engine and it gives the feel of a bigger bike, but if you are in the market for an A2 bike, then we suggest test riding some, or heading down to Dorothy's Speed Shop in North Devon, where Nathan Millwood has a whole fleet of A2 bikes which you can try out.
Finally, we want to look at future classics. We've not got a crystal ball, so this is going to be proper guesswork. How about a BMW R80 GS, a Ducati 916, or an early 90s Fireblade? But what if you're buying brand new? Well, if we thought a 30-year-old bike was guesswork, it's proper fortune telling to think about new bikes. But there's a few rare ones that might be worth considering, like the short run Langen, a 250 two-stroke café racer. It's stunning, unusual, and a short run of only 100. And finally, a worthy mention for bikes like the MV Agusta F4 750, the Suzuki GSX-R 1300R Hayabusa, or pretty much any Buell as a brand that was loved but isn't around anymore, if you can keep it in working order, that is. So there's our whirlwind roundup. For anyone that doesn't agree or like our views, absolutely marvellous, and please address all your opinions on a postage stamp to the production office. Now it's the time you've all been waiting for, we hope.
Yeah, they have. They want to see your bike fall apart, Bruce.
Yes, it's back to the Motorcycle Olympics.
Welcome back to the Motorbike Olympics. Now it's time to see who will win this competition between Graham, Bruce and Kristy. All three presenters famously massive cheats. As a recap for anyone who needs it, Bruce is currently sitting in first with no faults, Graham in second with 1, and Kristy in last place, which she insists is called bronze medal position rather than last. She has 5 points after a fall in the last round. Let's get straight into round 3. Cue cheesy graphics.
Okay, so we're well into the challenge, the Olympics, and this is one of our typical tricky sections. Graham's going to have to do this twice, and just to make it interesting, because I think the others are a little bit easy, we're going to use this.
So as Mark explained, this also has the added distraction of being shot at.
Ah, you motherfucker! Ow, 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 ow!
And it's just an airsoft rifle, but surprisingly effective. Kristy struggled. Looking down, she exposed the back of her neck, and with ruthless precision, Bruce took full advantage, getting some shots against bare skin. Kristy, in genuine pain, ends up getting 5 faults on that round. Now on to Bruce, who still looks ridiculous on such a teeny tiny bike.
You're not singing. Oh, my back. That was a proper foot down. I got the handlebars stuck in me blooming I got it stuck against.
And we can clearly see a tactic taking shape. Bruce and his new faithful friend Peggy are taking it slow and steady, which, as they say, wins the race. And that tactic seems to be working, as he had only 2 faults.
Yes! Ah! I let us down, Peggy. I let us down.
Now on to Big G. He has to go under the bridge 4 times, and it doesn't go well. Straight away he gets 5 faults. Not really sure how Mark is judging this, but it's always fun to watch the ultra-competitive Graham struggle. It looks like Biggett is definitely not better on this one. Kristy's aim is not great, not really sure it's affecting Graham's attempt much here, but she seems to be enjoying herself, and who wouldn't? I spent most of the morning shooting Graham off camera.
How did you rescue that?
Mark is impressed that he rescued that one without putting a foot down, but it is his 3rd attempt now, and he gets another 5. He does the same thing again.
Graham, I'd quit. I'd quit what I did. You get 5 steps out? Well, he should be out, but he's collecting points. He stops if you stop it to 5.
So because Graham didn't stop after his first 5, Mark is just letting him rack up more and more faults, which seems fair to me.
Oh my lord. That's a catastrophe.
So after 3 rounds, it's Bruce still in the lead on 2 faults, and second with 10 is Kristy, and last on 11 is Graham. Now for round 4, the little ditch. Very simple this, just ride through the ditch, turn around and come back through the ditch. This one is pretty easy, and Bruce is first and Peggy is doing him proud.
Oh lord.
On the way back, still no issues, and he still looks ridiculous on that bike. Kristy's go, and after easily going through the water, she comes across part of Peggy, and of course in the spirit of competition left it there for Bruce to get himself.
Woohoo! RB, I just found Peggy's side thing!
Bruce rather sensibly choosing to walk rather than ride Peggy more than he has to.
Right out of trouble.
And of course, it was just too easy for Graham on the 890. I won't even bother showing you his second lap because it looks just exactly the same as the first. And let's be honest, we were all hoping for a bit more carnage by now.
Oh my lord.
So after 4 rounds, the scores stay the same and we move to round 5, Big Ditch. No demo for this one again, as it's the same as the last one, just deeper with a little hump in the middle.
Not hard, is it? Too easy.
Of course, Graham makes it look super easy on the 890, so let's see how Kristy gets on, and almost immediately she's off. It looked as if she was heading to the left of the water in the hopes of trying to stay shallow, but instead the front wheel has just kind of hit the shale and slided down, and she's in. And now she's stalled it too. Oh. She's being too cautious. That's a 2-stroke. They aren't built for caution. They're built to twist and go. Right, she makes her way down without any more issues, but that is 5 points and some dented pride. Now Bruce, and once again slow and steady, seems to be winning the race, but he does look like he's getting bogged down in the water. No, he's through with no issues, no drama at all. Peggy making it look easy and really putting the other bikes to shame, to be honest. So after round 5, Bruce is still in the lead with just 2 faults. Graham is in second, staying on 11, and Kristy drops to third. Now round 6, the last round before the final, and it's the double hill. No need for a demo here, it's pretty easy again. And it's pretty easy for Peggy and Bruce. Kristy flies up there too with no issues, but now it's time for Graham. And this is a lot harder for him, as he has to turn around at the top and come back down, and there isn't a lot of room. It's very tight up there, and he's failed. That's 5 points, which will put him into last place. Oh dear, Graham. So at the end of round 6, Bruce is on top with Kristy in second and Graham in last place.
So everybody does 5 laps. You two guys will do the maze once, under the bridge once in 5 laps. You will do 5 laps. You will alternate maze, under the bridge, maze, under the bridge, maze to finish.
Now it's time for the final, and it's a simple race. So as you can see, they're on the grid there by the finishing order, and let's be honest, it's all completely pointless, and Bruce is going to get totally swamped by the first corner. And they're off, and Bruce makes a surprisingly nippy start, but Graham, of course, on the 890 has got the whole shot. Graham stretches the lead, quickly heading out to the maze first. Kristy is holding back, but finally squeezes up the inside of Bruce, and we can now see how pointless the whole rest of the competition has been. Bruce is going into the maze too. Kristy is getting a clean up in first, and wow, that's so slow. Someone should have probably told them they actually didn't have to worry about putting their feet down anymore. Kristy comes around the corner, leg in the air there, and as Graham exits the maze, Kristy heads into the tunnel, and she's binned it. Oh my God. Don't smile at the camera, get on with it.
Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going.
Points for bravery, because she just went for it. Someone is in this to win.
Come on, Kristy.
Now wait, I've missed something here. Did Bruce just head out of the maze and not complete his first lap? And Kristy is off again just in time as Graham heads into the tunnel. Right behind him is Bruce, who technically I don't think has actually done a lap yet. Kristy has though, and she's now on lap 3. So against all the odds, she is currently quite comfortably in the lead. Truth be told, Graham is the only one who really has any off-road experience, and all of this is quite new to Bruce and Kristy. So Kristy's heading into the maze now, and she's followed by Graham, and Bruce is still stuck in the tunnel. He needs to get going pretty quick. And Kristy is stalled in the maze, but it doesn't leave any room for the 890. Great tactics by Kristy there. Going in the maze right ahead of Graham has basically stopped him progressing, and that might have actually just won her the race.
Come on, Bruce. Come on, Bruce.
Bruce has just managed to get going again, although he technically has only now completed 1 lap so far, and Graham and Kristy are now starting lap 4.
You're gonna win this, get going! She's on her last lap.
Kristy somehow got out of the maze quite a bit ahead of Graham, is now coming up to lap Bruce, ready to start her last lap. Kristy heads up the inside of Bruce. No one to challenge her on this lap as Graham has had to head to the maze when actually he should have been heading to the tunnel.
And the winner is...
Yeah! And Kristy crosses the line in first place. Bruce slows down as if he was fighting for the lead, but he's got at least 2 if not 3 laps to go. I've lost count. Mark giving Bruce the signal to carry on and keep going while Kristy starts celebrating. Mark is apparently letting Bruce finish there, and Graham's just given up.
Got the exhaust off.
There is only one word to describe the first Motorbike TV Motorbike Olympics, and it's clearly just the word shambles. such shambles. But it did make me laugh, so... Well done, Kristy.
Well done. That really was.
The chain came off. At least she lasted to the end of the competition. But the chain's come off. The rear sprocket is just hanging on as well. She still goes, the engine's still going.
It is time for a bit of reflection on the Motorbike Olympics. And the results were very clear. I was
Last.
third. I was third. I had a 3. Bruce was second. And Kristy won the last event. However, I would say you may have won the last event, but you weren't particularly great at the other stuff.
Let's rewind a wee bit here. What was the task? 500 quid, buy a bike for below 500 quid.
Yeah.
That works, and then do the Olympics.
Yes.
No.
You bought a bike,
Yeah.
500 quid.
Which didn't even
Didn't start.
make the starting line.
To get off
No.
the van.
I bought a bike, 280 quid.
Yeah.
Did everything. Okay, she died on the way home,
Yeah.
but she did everything in the
Not for the
Olympics.
day, right?
You
Yeah.
brought your own bloody bike.
No. The brief was to buy a bike with £500.
Which you didn't.
But nobody said that you couldn't put any more money towards it. So actually, I won fair and square. Actually, if you think about it.
I think
Do
you're
not interrupt my victory, please. Let me have this. Let me savor this moment. I won.
It's not a real victory
No.
though, is it?
It's
Really?
victory. I don't care how
think-
it happens.
I've got the moral win.
I think it's a little hollow.
Who needs morals, though, Bruce?
Can't argue with that, ladies and gentlemen. Cannot argue with that.
Because I haven't got a leg to stand on anyway, because I didn't even start and I was on an 890. And as much as I want to try and give myself some kind of reason for that being a winning bike, and I didn't even win, then rubbish.
No.
But I will adjudicate, and I would like to give the moral win to Bruce, and the race win at the end to Kristy. And I was
Still
just
smashed you, Bruce.
plumb last in every possible respect. Yeah. Which brings us, sadly, I think, very sadly, to the end of the 2021 Motorbike Olympics.
It's been a good day.
It has. Mostly. She broke.
Thank you. Thank you.
Such a hollow victory when you cheat.
Let's not get into this again.
You don't want to get into it again.
Rules
because
are rules.
No, because he is massively competitive
Cheats.
and you lost even when you had the best bike.
I had to do an extra 2 laps. I may have had the quickest
Disgusting.
bike, but
Cheats.
I'm not going to get into this again. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next season. Ride safe.
Cheats.
So usually wiring on a bike like this can be a little bit of a nightmare, but we have got F you. I'm quite chuffed with that. Yeah, that bit's fantastic.
Let's have a look at
The trim.
some of the stuff down here.
That was a slight error on my
Let's
behalf.
go around this. Oh, are we trying not to see this now? Oh dear, no. Leave her hand, Kristy. What the hell is that?
That was slight stretching, heating error on my behalf.
I am disappointed in you.
But you know what though? I learnt a lot from this first wrap. I think it's because I made so many mistakes, but I think I've learned quickly from them. I reckon second wrap. If we do this again, when we do this again, can I help you?
No, you're staying well clear. I'm gonna do